Hello, everyone. I'm delighted to announce that this is the 62nd time that we are meeting on a podcast powered by the Study Box Academy and conducted by the Diplomacy Next series. And I'm quite excited and more looking forward to have a discussion on a very, very important issue from different dimensions. And first things first, it's an important issue that has taken the media by storm, and that has taken the entire security grid by an emergency like situation. Because most of the people who will be watching this podcast might know things about the violence or the law and order issues that have been taking place in a state in the northeastern state called Manipur. Uh, what are the basic dimensions of this entire thing, and how has this evolved into and had reached to a level where it has become pretty much tough for the security forces to cap it. Apart from that, also we'll be talking about the geographical dimension of it, and then we'll be just delving into this security part of it, and then we'll also be talking about how this tribal intra-tribal conflict on land and on other certain things, despite the fact that historically this very state, namely Manipur, has had chief ministers from different tribes and almost from all the tribes that are in largest population. So I'll introduce my guest for today's podcast. She is Dr. Paridhi Billore. She is actually working with the GCTC as a researcher. It's Global Counterterrorism Council. And apart from that, she has also recently, she's, I guess, a research intern with Clause as well. And apart from that, I have had exchange with her about different parts of or different dimensions of global politics, of national security, and other academic things. So she was actually invited last year, but then she has her schedule quite packed. So we couldn't convert it into a podcast like this. So finally, I have her on the podcast. I would like to welcome her to this podcast on the Diplomacy Next.
Thank you so much, Mehraj. That was a really good introduction from your side. Thank you so much for inviting me and having me over here. Let's get the first thing first. As you have already introduced this, that we are talking about the very hot and flaring issue right now, Manipur. Manipur, and let's starting with the northeastern states of India. So all the seven sisters are geographically kind of isolated from India, but they're connected via a very thin Siliguri corridor, which is also known as Chicken's Neck. We all know that northeastern states have been not the real part of focus of development for our majority of governments, but a recent rise in the incursions by the Chinese into the borders of Arunachal Pradesh and in certain areas nearing the borders of northeastern states have actually given the knee jerk reflex to the government. And that is why we are seeing that certain other issues are coming up. For example, currently we are seeing that in Manipur, what we are having is a kind of violence, and the violence converting into riots. And further, it is actually building up ethnic tensions between two tribes. To first of all understand this concept clearly, this northeastern states are having multiple tribes. They are actually Metis, Kukis, Ho, Garo, Khasis, all of them are living in this particular areas. But jointly, Kukis are dwelling in the hilly areas, whereas the valley is more dominantly by the Midi tribes. Geographically, the state of Manipur is actually having eastern wing of Himalayas, and in the lower landscape where the valley part is there, which is more fertile actually. So this particular valley is obviously seen as a kind of brownie point for the industries to set up over there, indicating that more development might be in that particular area. Now the issue is about the reservation which has been given to the Methi tribes, and that has kind of created clashes between the two tribes. The issue over here is there the people have the right to protest in a peaceful manner, but the condition which we are seeing right now, almost a month has passed since even our Olympic medalist Mary Kom has requested the government that her own town is burning. The issue is that we are seeing exponential rise in the violence, and that too when the national government agencies like CBI are trying to probe the matter. They are even not being allowed to take the matter in their own hands. So, what we are seeing is cumulatively that there are multiple clashes between the two tribes, but they are actually engineered clashes. There are riots, and these riots are actually scaffolding into creating ethnic fractures.
Just hold on. You have mentioned very important thing that it's about the CBI raid about certain things. Will you be a bit elaborate on that?
Yes. So basically, as we already know in the current news, it has been evident that there has been mass looting of the weaponry from the Manipur Police Training Institute, and near about 6,000 weapons have been looted. These weapons are obviously under the control of the police. So, as per the law, if any kind of mass public is approaching the academy or the training center where the weapons are there, it is the prime duty to save those arsenals from being looted. Number one, there has been no incident of any personal, slapping the public or any person who has tried to loot that particular area. That means it is suggestively hinting towards some amount of cooperation between the state authorities and the people who are trying to create the ruckus. Also, certain women wing like Meera Paige's group that has been on the verge of not allowing the armed forces nor the CBI to actually inquire in the areas that why and how was this loot committed. There are many videos circulating wherein you can see that Meera Paige's women are actually standing in front of the armed forces and not allowing them to enter into the villages, hiding the terrorists. In fact, they're traveling with the cars where terrorists are going with them, and they are moving ahead with the entire squadrons. This means that somewhere down the lane, there is a bigger conspiracy that we can see on the surface.
So, as per your research or as per you, this entire law and order issue is not born out of what most of the people view it as the tribal cleavage that have exposed itself because of certain conflict of interest in politics, in economy, or some other way, or culture, especially. As per your knowledge or as per your analysis, this is an engineered clash by whatever the group you mentioned. It's a women activist group, I reckon. Tell us more about this thing that the theories that stem from different portals or from different groups. They have been quite asking about this thing, that it's the intra-tribal rivalry, it's not something else. So government has not been able to negotiate a deal with the groups that are the parties to the conflict. So tell us more about it. So if it's an engineered conflict, what most of the people don't get it, tell us more about this CBI raid, and you have already mentioned about it, and which is the group that's barring the security forces to actually get and chase the people and arrest them, or get the control of the arms that were actually looted.
Right. So basically, this issue came into news that when the armory, the arsenal which was rooted from the police training center. So CBI raid was launched, and CBI officials were actually going to inquire that how and when and who were the people who were involved in looting of the weapons. Now, if you see, there are a lot of videos being circulated wherein the women wing, called as Meera Paigas group, has been not allowing the CBI or even the CFSL team to visit the sites wherein the arms and ammunition were looted. See, it's very important when a forensic expert team has to reach a place on time, because if there is no accuracy in detailing where the Armani loot took place, it's very easy for anyone to just erase the evidence. There has been a report by this Imphal Free Press, it's the news channel, and has reported that nearly 2,000 residents of the Pangi village, mostly women, they just refused the entry to CBI team. Now, see, you have to understand the matters. The CBI team officials are consisting of the male officials. If any kind of issue comes up, in fact, in the armed force also, we have mostly male soldiers. If a female group is trying to stop their entry and they are threatening that they will remove their clothes, something like that, so it's very easy for anyone to just fabricate this issue as a rape or something of assault and clearly put the blame on the CBI officials or the armed forces. So any
So, so,
person
so
who is,
just a
uh,
minute, just a
yeah,
minute. For my understanding of this and for the larger understanding of the audience, you are saying that this, women's activist group, or what's the name of this group, whatever it is, it's actually using
mhm.
strategically this thing that they are not allowing the officials to get into the areas and into the village to track down whatever is happening there by the anti-state elements. It's because they are using this thing as a strategic tool to not allow things and to let the things flare up and let the media make it the headlines in order to defame the organization, in order to defame the government and allow the other parties who are interested in defaming India, for that matter, to take up this news and make it an issue at the global level against India.
Yeah. So actually, if you are following, there has been this official news has been an official order has been issued that women activists who are termed as Mira Paide's group, they are actually, if you translate in the language, it is the mothers of Manipur. Okay, so this group is as if they're like, it was formed. It is including all the Metis women who have come together, and these Metis women are actually like protectors, guardians of the people. But the point is that these mothers are gathering and they are protecting the people or the instigators of crime who are actually behaving as if they have put the entire city on ruckus. You can see that it very clearly evident. A news article by Indian Express has been given wherein there was a demand for resignation of the Chief Minister Biren Singh. There was a human chain formed near his residence. The Mirabai group has been, making a human chain in front of the armed forces, not to allow the entry. So here, what we actually are looking forward is there should be a women contingent of the armed forces to deal with this issue. See, it's very clear that armed forces is not only comprising of men, it also has women counterparts. So in such sensitive issues, you should deploy the women counterparts over there to control the Mira Fibers group, at least over there. Not all the people of Mira Fibers group are to be alleged, but certain elements who are not allowing the actual inquiry to take place. So these women should actually be handled by a woman police constable or a woman armed force personnel. That would actually give us an edge to understand what is the reason for this, the backlash by the women group.
So if we can understand it, or we have been able to understand whatever you have been saying, or analyzing from a researcher point of view, is that the entire thing that we see in the media houses or on the channels on the television or on other social media platforms, it's not the story that's true. It's actually something different. That's the cause that has triggered this entire problem of law and order. Down the line, I will also like you to talk about this coordination. What has security forces been doing? Then, if they must be having, they must be facing quite tough job in order to see through this, and they have simultaneously to battle the women's rights group and also the arms that have been stolen from the camps or wherever they were
Police
located.
law.
Yeah, tell us about this coordination of the forces and also how have security forces been able to deal with this issue?
Right. So we have to understand that there is a coordination between the state police forces, the armed forces, but there was a certain kind of problem which was noticed. Normally, the state police has to assist the armed forces into their functioning. They have to provide them with the intelligence. They have to provide them with the network. They have to provide them the proper information about the geographical outlay of that area. And moreover, we have to understand that this issue is pushed into the or it's actually painted into the tribal conflict. It is not. If you look at the population part, the population of Metis, Cookies is actually quite divided. So we think that majority of them are Christians, which is not true. There are certain portions of the sector which are Hindus, which are Christians, and which are Muslims also. So it is a completely heterogeneous kind of group of people. So to push any kind of religious angle to this is a non-fruitful way of understanding the issue. Second point is that the Manipur police has said that total of 1095 arms, 13,000 ammunitions, and 250 bombs of different varieties have been recovered. Agreed. But still, we are on the loop of hunting 6,000 more arms and ammunitions. And the first point that arises in the mind of any person is if you want to control the riot, you have to recover those arms first. You have to recover those ammunitions first. For that, we need to have a total network of intelligence, a strong scrutiny of people who are passing through those areas, which is actually lacking over here. The Manipur police is actually not coordinating with the armed forces, neither it is coordinating with the central agency, which is trying to probe the issue. Third thing, that Manipur is actually getting some amount of money through the narco route. Now you have to understand this very carefully that we all have to understand this carefully actually that a drug route which is traced via the Golden Triangle route includes Manipur also and has been flourishing since long. So, narco terrorism, I mean, the narco illegal trade is actually funding these kind of groups. And to be more transparent in this issue, these funds can go from the officials in the higher positions to the lowest person in the rung. That means the amount of weaponry which is being flooding into these areas is just not the work of a few people. It's an entire mechanized setup which is working by proper funding through narco terrorist groups, along with the foreign funding groups, along with the people who are holding a left wing extremism. And finally, what we are seeing is culminating the issue of a normal person being victimized in Manipur. So, we as Indians, you and me sitting over here, are just able to understand the facts and data which is provided by certain news channels or by certain normal issues. But what we see is the ground reality of that civilian who is stranded over there is quite evident that when they are hearing about the news that a cookie boy has been murdered and his head has been chopped off and put on a pole for a display. So that is something bone-chilling incidents that you and I can't digest. This kind of incidents don't even happen in like ISIS or Khorasan kind of area. This kind of incidents can't be reported in India in a democracy like India. It is tough to digest that, but it is happening right now. The WhatsApp circulations, the photographs are really creating more tension among these communities.
And when we talk about the media houses or the social media platform, they have not been honest enough or transparent enough to tell the people the reality of the issues, so that the things could have been, the things could have been controlled, or there could have been the heads could have calmed down. And this intra-tribal rivalry stemming from this narco terrorism, stemming from many other issues that we talked about the women's rights activists, and giving it a different color, and portraying the entire situation in a very different way that's very remote from the truth. uh, how do you view this social media, psychological warfare, trying to manipulate the emotions of the people? Instead, it should have been done that in order to not let the civilians, or not let the confrontation between the civilians and the security forces must not be, taking place at such a level where there will be casualties or things like that. How do you see this entire social media and media houses just cooking up the story about and not telling us the truth, so that anybody whosoever will approach this region from the academic level, from the security perspective, will get the reality of the situation?
Right. A very good question from you, Mehraj. It really needs to be addressed, actually. So, what we are seeing right now is a lot of shift and a lot of reforms are demanded in this polarized media. We can't just have a biased view of seeing something. We have to have our mindset open. Now, see, there are certain kind of media coverage outlets who are just increasing their TRP by covering the prime time coverage area of giving the headlines. Something happened with the Kuki tribe, something happened with the Miki tribe, right? But the point is, we are not here to make this issue into more volcanic or into more explosive content. We are not here for creating TRP. We are here to make something in a more peaceful connect with our own countrymen. Those people, those children, those women who are dying over there are our country people. We should not be earning rupees, we should not be earning TRPs out of their deaths, to be very frank. Now, the point is that the countermeasures which should be taken on the social media, editorials, articles, everything. So these are actually kind of building extra pressure on the government. This media is termed as the fourth pillar. If your judiciary, executive, and the legislative is functioning or not functioning, but media is also termed as the fourth pillar. When this fourth pillar is actually responsible to term or to hold the state authorities accountable for their actions. But what we are seeing right now is just that these media houses are coloring, I'll not say all of them, but some media houses are just engaged in coloring the entire picture into a political party versus a particular kind of group of people, and they're trying to earn their own, they're just trying to hide their crucial questions behind these ethnic clashes. For example, if you see, nobody has been talking about the migration issues. Nobody has been talking about the survival, what the Assam Rifles have done for the cooperation. Nobody is mentioning the good part, the positive part of the conflict. What actually armed forces are doing on the ground. Nobody is reporting the good part. Why? Because we want to keep the issue burning. We want the conflict. That is why people are not reporting the good things. It's not like everybody in the village is fighting. But if two people are fighting and your camera is only touched towards them, a perception builds in the mind of the entire country that these groups are engulfing the entire state, which is not true.
And when
So
we
I think
talk
that this media, yeah,
when we talk about the countries or the entities that from the external dimension I'm talking about, since we have seen
yeah,
many things have been brought up in the European Union Parliament or something like that. I have heard on in the news, and especially when the Prime Minister was visiting France a day before, and this there seems to be a
yeah,
conspiracy against India to defame the democratic structure that we have, and it's used as a tool to defame India in order to keep it on the defensive. Uh, Seeing the progress, seeing the elevation of India since last decade or so, what are the external forces that have to be considered when we talk about this entire Manipur violence, just getting out of hands, uh, be that narco terrorism, be that some other issues. Why do you see the external hand into this entire, thing that's happening?
right. So again, a very, very good point has been raised by you, Mehraj. Here Manipur violence. Obviously, you are saying very correctly. European Parliament has adopted the resolution that the Manipur violence should not actually, be rising more. See, a part of this is actually coming from the some amount of colonial mindset. See, there is a kind of accountability which our government holds to its own people. That is our responsibility to look into our own matters. We don't need to be schooled or classed by some other country on our own personal issues. If you look at the European Parliament, well, a person can always be preaching others if he or she has been truthful on his own stance. If you look in the Europe itself, there have been multiple issues where there have been divided on the issue of Ukraine currently, Ukraine-Russia war. They have been divided amongst themselves. So a person should be not preaching the other person. You should not throw stones on other houses if you are yourself sitting in a glass house, right? Yes, I agree to the fact that as people of India, as Indians, all of us should think about it that a certain kind of action should be taken with a full resolution to curb the violence. But that is a personal, a very, very critical issue for a country. And it should remain within the borders of the country. It is the it is not just that you're connecting Christians as religious minorities, and then Europeans are thinking that those Christians who are living in the northeastern states are connected to them in some way. Because this is a very, very colonial mindset which is being reflected. Okay. It is like as if Indian authorities are not competent enough to deal their own matters, which is, I think, Arindam Bagchi has completely discarded. And he has said that this kind of reporting on the internal matters of any country, dealing with the sovereignty of the issues, is completely not an authority which is being given to the other countries. If you have a bright example on this, we have a burning issue of Uyghur Muslims in China, Xinjiang province. We all know what is going on over there. Nobody is schooling China on that issue. So, there is a particular divide on this issue that we are seeing. There were like Syrian refugees who drowned recently. 700 of them were on board. They all drowned. Who was there to report on them? Who was there to school anybody on them? Nobody. There has been refugees who have been running out from Ukraine crisis. They have not been treated nicely. So, a country should or a union should only coach those countries wherein it feels that it itself has played a role of non-partisan country. If it itself is viewing everything with a bipolarized or polarized view and a myopic view, I think they have no right to question whatever things are going in other countries.
Uh,
I think you are agreeing with the same.
I 100% agree with this, that this entire colonial mindset that prevails in certain segments of our country. Apart from that, also there are countries who always jump the gun when it comes to trying to defame India, and they try to school us and lecture us and sermonize us on issues of human rights, on issues of democracy, on issues of economy. I don't know. They consider themselves to have the outsourced brains, and they, I don't know, this woke entitlement that okay, they have to lecture India no matter what's happening within their own borders. That having been said, one last thing is that how do you see this thing? I hope that the entire internal security apparatus might be working towards, actually they have been able to forge the peace and try to get all the parties on the table and talk about them, because most of the tribal leaders are in Delhi. Hopefully there will be a peace process that will start, and the normalcy will it will do, although it will take time, but then it will also come, there will be normalcy that will come back to the people of the Manipur. How do you view this thing as a challenge to the internal security of India?
Right. So, see, what we are seeing as an advancement into this issue is that Manipur police has finally gotten their issue under their control, and they have, uh, seen that they have been registering criminal cases against people like Lipun Chief Pramod Singh, who has been crashing violently on the riots issue, who has been instigating riots. So, police has taken a stern action. We should not think that actually they're doing a wonderful job, actually, to be very honest. Manipur police has also been trying to do multiple tasks, actually, along with the Assam rifles. To look at the national security context, Miraj, we have to see that the Assam rifles or the armed forces are actually working in a coordination with the Manipur police. If you must have heard about the AFSPA Act. Now, AFSPA Act was in a lot of controversy that despite Assam or any other state of Northeast being a peaceful state already, why is it still over there? Looking at this in certain areas of Northeast, they have been removed. The AFSPA Act has been removed also. But the point is that now, after this kind of action, which we are seeing, that is, barricades being set up, weapons being looted, literally riots have been instigated against people. Now, what we are seeing is one more thorough look into the AFSPA Act, that do we need to remove it at all, or do we need to continue it? Because this kind of violence could have been curbed down if there would have been a very heavy and strong action by the armed forces in the initial part. The problem what armed forces was facing was a lesser amount of coordination from the state police and the government forces. That is because of certain personal benefits which certain people wanted to take up from the issue. To understand in a national security perspective, it is very important to keep a personal benefit aside and think about nation first. And that is why any kind of transfer of DGPs uh, based on their caste or something is not a very good idea. What I see is if a person is at a high position, is actually there in a government position, he is there because of his caliber, not because of his caste or position. So we should respect that first. We should not let the caste system enter into the government sectors or government jobs. Number one. Number two, certain policies which are being promoted by the government should have a strong communication with the public. It's very important. We have seen that previously also with the farm issues, with the NRC issues. A proper communication channel needs to be established with the people. Number one. Number two, there has to be consensus into any government policy which is coming up. The public should be informed about the decision. It should be like on ground discussion should be happening before any law is being introduced. This is to win their courage. And unless you don't, it's not like you have to make everyone happy, but at least they should be able to give their views before a new thing is being introduced upon them. See, ultimately, if any community is to be taken together, the trust is very important, even if national security is there. Today, if these groups are standing against the armed forces, then there might be someone else who has been brainwashing them against our armed forces. It's very evident, right? So, first we have to win the trust of our own people. We have to understand on ground scenario that who and how are the people who are affecting them or are brainwashing the youth of these areas. That's the first aspect. For this, we can require human intelligence. We may require signals intelligence. We may require technical intelligence, whatever intelligence is required. We should have proper channels and networks in those areas. We should talk to the people, talk to the youth, create a more positive area, more positive environment over there, build school, infrastructure, despite everything which has happened. Then the next step should be to rehabilitate all the refugees, all the people who have been dislodged from their houses. That should be the first step. Second step is initially there were certain things that were done, like burning of a very holy place of Kuki tribe. Such cases and such people should be caught first, who create a religious kind of war between the two tribes. And the last thing is that all the Indians should show solidarity for the issue of Manipur. It's just not that Manipur is burning. It's not the issue of just northeast states. It's including you, me, every person seated in every state of India. It's important for us to understand, come together, and jointly address the issue.